Well, good afternoon. Sometimes it gets so stir crazy with the coronavirus, and sometimes we have to just get out and just get some fresh air or do something. I realize that you'll get your turn to depart once I turn to the street. There we go. I like the butterfly that took upon herself to go to a state park, and I hope she gets the rest and the R&R and just a downtime that she can kind of regroup and she'll have time to take care of herself. And I certainly pray that the local authorities will be gracious and merciful on her. And with that said, it's time for us to go on the continuing series of bullying on Brother Mark, Turner Syndrome, Butterflies, and Life. Also, that have been joining us too have been men and women who have also been victims of bullying. I've really found some really great fellowship with them, and I haven't gotten to learn them all by name, but I've kind of heard their stories. So it's kind of encouraging to know that I'm not alone. And I know that there are other butterflies too who've had the same sentiments that I've had too. In this segment, I'm going to go ahead and talk about. I've been dealing with bullying and the bullying drama, gaslighting, narcissistic abuse, and why this doesn't belong in the Turner Syndrome community. I mean, obviously, one, it's wrong. It's just pure. It's wrong, pure and simple. And then, as I said, hurt people. And sometimes people do it because of that old acronym of fear, where false expectations appear real. Now people foul up everything and run because false expectations appear real. Then they foul up everything and run. But then there does come a point where it's my prayer that we all face everyone and recover. And in my last video, which I'll go ahead and give my own personal recommendations of what might be the best way. Again, one man's opinion. Take what you like, leave the rest. There's no toll-free number that you can call. There's no magic answers. But I hope it'll at least start to generate some healthy conversation. Female bullies are some of the trickiest people. And then some of the people with real deep hurts. And a male, don't get me wrong, but a male bully is usually going to, they may play psychological mind games and shame games and use their fists. But the female bully can be really sophisticated. They play a lot of damaging psychological mind games that can really cause a lot of damage. If you don't believe me, first up, hear my stories. Secondly, Google it yourself and look it up. Do your own research, because the female bullies are there's something far more damaging, and it's a lot more than Glenn Close in the 1987 movie Fatal Attraction. That's one type, but the psychological mind games that female bullies can pull can be a real mind blower sometimes. So I'm gonna look at three personal experiences that I've had with female bullies, and then I'll give you some observation and what I'm seeing in all three. Actually, I'm coming up with four. I mean, my first real female bully is was Helen Drabunska. And the funny thing about the family, they were actually, most of the family was actually very much part of the big band scene in New England. And obviously I'm making up the name, but there was a direct descendant of and we went back and fact checked, and sure enough, there was somebody descended directly from one of the great big bands from the 30s and the 40s. So, but that was private schools. they got their own set of discipline problems. So if you're watching Paper Chaser, Dead Poet Society, about some of the evil stuff that goes on in private schools, you're probably right. There's a lot of secrecy and a lot of evil and a lot of darkness that goes on in the halls of many a private school, whether they be a day school or a boarding school. And I'm not on that. And I'm sure there's a YouTube channel of greatly recovering boarding school students years later. I shouldn't laugh, but the male bullies, you could really nail them down. You kind of knew what they were at and what they were up against. I mean, they could come clean. But I remember the games that Helen was playing in the 9th grade, and oh boy. And she could look real sweet and innocent, like nothing's happening. He's coming after me. He's doing this, and she didn't really do a good job of it, but they would deny everything. And she could look sweet and innocent. I mean, she could have had a smoking gun in front of her and have fired the bullet, and the smoke still coming out of the gun chamber. And she would look sweet and innocent, and there was just no way that you could confront her. Heaven knows, we tried. You get out in the hall, and she could play some mean mind games. Thankfully, I transferred out at the end of the school year and went someplace else, and that was my first experience and my first recollection of ever dealing with female bullying. Now I move many years later to I worked for a major airline. We'll just call it Metro Airlines, and I worked in their main call center in a major metropolitan city down south. And this was right after 2001, so the airline industry was really turbulent, and we were as a result of 9/11, the whole industry was just fighting for its existence. So there was a lot of consolidation, a lot of closures, and right out of the blue, for no reason, call center in the East Coast closed, and everybody had a chance to transfer to the main headquarters. And in comes this woman. I had no idea who she was. I later found out their name was Maria Gomez. And all of a sudden, I was being attacked for no reason. And I'm just doing my job. I worked in customer service, and yet And there was just some really weird mind games going on. And there was just, she'd come by and she'd scowl, she'd be angry at me, and I didn't do a thing. I had no idea. And then that wasn't good enough for her. Then she had to up the ante. And she played a really great, sophisticated con game. And everybody fell for it. And then kind of escalated with, she would zip by my desk and knock things off my desk while I'm taking calls. Well, that's a little weird. I don't know Maria. I have no idea who she is. Try to be friendly. Figured maybe that would work. See what's going on. And some of the games that female bullies will play, they'll play attack. They'll play games of attack and games of chicken. But when confronted, they're going to look sweet and innocent. But they also know how to manipulate the system and make things to attack their victims, make their victims look like blathering idiots. And Maria knew how to play the system, and she being a former supervisor, kind of knew how to sneak around the system. And she could sneak her way off the property, and now I'm having road rage incidents with her. But yet, if I say that I had an incident with her on Highway 217 at such and such an hour, she was on the clock. Or there was one time where she tried to engage me and some other women into a fight, and I went ahead and filed a complaint. And when they went back to investigate the complaint, it was shown that she was logged in and checked in for a flight to Chicago. And I'm not saying it's because of an axe to grind. But just kind of want to show you just kind of the nature of how she was subtly pushing buttons. Excuse me for a second while I get across two sets of railroad tracks. Okay, that's NS Group. And that's CSX. And everybody is safe and sound. Well, anyway, getting back to Maria. Finally, she knew how to further play the system. Finally, enough was enough, and I went ahead and filed a complaint with HR. The only trouble is in a corporate environment, HR puts everything in secrecy, so you can't talk about it. So now that even produces even more anxiety, and the game, and then the perpetrator can practically get away with murder, and they know just enough just to stand below the radar. One thing led to another, and finally I just had enough and finally left a really good job, although probably in retrospect I probably got out at just the right time because morale of the company was failing. But it demonstrates how female bullies work. They can play a game, and they know how to cover their tracks, and they know how they can look innocent. But I think there were some people who made some really astute observations. There was somebody actually worked with Maria in a training class, and she said, I don't know what it is, but she's got so much bitterness in her. Look at the scowl, and man, is she hurting. I don't know why. It's none of my business, but oh man, I can see it. Another person from the East Coast call center also said, "Oh yeah, Maria knew how to play the game, and she broke up a lot of relationships. There was a couple that were engaged to be married, and she destroyed the marriage. And then investigation, and she came out clean, and there was not a thing they could do. But she really destroyed a lot of marriages in the East Coast call center." So so they can look sweet and innocent. They can play the victim role, and then conduct bloody murder on the side. And at the same time, the victims suffer a lot of psychological trauma because of it, and because they know how to play the system. So it's important. It's important that I think that butterflies gotta watch and observe. Many of them have, and many of them have, and have looked at some of the perpetrators, and they blocked them. They want nothing to do with them, and the opinions that are shared that I've heard is they do not represent Turners. They do not represent butterflies as far as I'm concerned. And I think another offhand observation about the female bullies that are certainly in the Turner syndrome community is that it's like the inmates are running the asylum, and nobody wants to confront it, and everybody wants to be in denial. And I'll probably discuss that a little more in the third video. Two more examples, though. The next example was a woman called Bambi Paderewski. And I had taken a position at Consolidated Acme in Plain City, and in a fictional town. And then came a girl fresh out college with a lot of enthusiasm, until things all of a sudden just came crashing in, and we'll never know what happened. I do know that looking back, the person was suffering an incredible amount of hurt. And again, a lot of female bullies have a lot of underlying hurt, and sometimes the only way they can process sometimes is by acting out. And this was the same case about this particular worker. And there were some really, it was like a carbon copy of Maria. And this girl knew how the play the system, sort of, and could play, sweet and innocent. I say, this is some really weird behavior going on. I don't have any part of it. And so when I went to complain to HR, all of a sudden the company ganged up on me and put me on leave. So you know how to play the system and look sweet and innocent. And I rather felt sorry for her. Tried to help in some places I shouldn't, and it certainly cost me. But there was just. But I also knew at the same time this particular woman, I really felt sorry for her. I could really feel the hurt. I could feel the anger. I could just feel hurt, and the hurt just coming off of her. It was the weirdest feeling. It was just almost radiating throughout the call center. And I know I was not the only one, because I know that she had it out with her supervisor. And I heard the two of them screaming. I don't know what it was, and I just happily, innocently walked into the break room just to get a cup of coffee, and her supervisor just had steam coming out her ears, and And obviously, obviously she wasn't in a place to disclose what was going on. I mean, that's just that'd be improper business. But still, I remember saying to Donna, "Would you like me to get you a cup of coffee?" "Yes, please." Yeah, not fun being a supervisor, is it? No. I let her vent as best I can. She said, "Thanks, Mark." So I knew I wasn't alone. I knew that somebody was playing the game. The funny thing too is that she started stalking me online, and then there were some really weird games going on Facebook, where else there'd be friend requests, and friend requests would be drawn, and then she'd show up. And that went on after I left the company. That went on for about a year. So when any other butterfly send me these fake friend requests, sorry gals, I'm hip to it. Been there, seen it, done that, got the T-shirt, and I already took the seminar on female bullying. Nice try. And that when I should have taken the advice of a parish priest and just blocked her and got on with my life. Don't ask me why I did. Because the games are addicting. That's and that's pretty much it. The games are addicting. I'm sure if I had stopped it right then and there. It's kind of interesting though how the story kind of culminated. In the end, I finally said enough's enough, and I just told her stop it. And I knew that she was being engaged. She was engaged to be married to a wonderful man. And I said, stop it. You got to knock this off. Now go away. And like 24 hours later, I get a call from the local police department accusing me of stalking. See the game? See the twist? See the flip? Let's disarm the victim. When you know those games, then you're not gonna be pulled into them. Here's how it ended. The police went back and compared my story against theirs. At first, they were looking like me as if I were, and they were going to press charges. But then, upon further investigation, they checked the stories, and her story didn't check out. Number one. Number two, I have a feeling somebody read Bambi the Riot Act, except because I was reading a blog and somebody knew her, said, I don't know what happened to Bambi, but she just looked like she did something wrong, and she looks guilty, and she looked like she just got out of the principal's office. Busted. And I don't mean it, and I don't mean it to gloat. I really don't. I mean, it was nice to be vindicated, and it was nice to be, okay. I really wasn't imagining things. But I do remember there were times that something was going on. I did see Bambi come many times out of manager's office looking like she just had a talking down. And you know that look. We've all felt it. It was glaringly obvious. And Bambi's never been on social media since. I think the neat thing there is there were some kind of neat friendships that kind of spun off, and those have been really rich and valuable, and I'm just, it's just, so great, so grateful for those. And at one point, now just rich and valuable friendships, and I can just kind of let it go at that. So one thing about female bullies is they know how to play a con. They know how to look sweet and innocent. They know how to cleverly cover their tracks, and to make the victim look like a blathering idiot. And they love it when the victim retaliates, because then they can attack some more. And then if they enlist friends, to do it even more, then the picture gets painted like the person being attacked is a blathering idiot, and then the victims are looking, the perpetrators are looking sweet and innocent. But in the case of Helen, in the case of Maria, in the case of Bambi, there were some really serious hurting people, and we'll never know why. And it's not my place to know. The good Lord can get the right people in the right situations to get them on the road to recovery. That's not my job. But I think it is my job, though, to educate the Turner Syndrome community, and also those who are in some of our recovery communities, for those who have been victims of narcissistic abuse, that they also kind of hear another person's story. And I think the Turner Syndrome community kind of hears the story of how female bullies operate. That's a long video. It's a lot to go over, and I think on part 3, I just want to go here. I'm going to maybe give it a couple days, and I just really want to get some good notes together. But anyway, if you have been victimized, you're not alone. If you're part of the Turner Syndrome community and you've been victimized and you've had playing mind games, you're in good company, and there are people who understand and will walk alongside you. If you suddenly realize, wait a minute, yeah, I am that person, and you realize that what you're doing is wrong, congratulations, you're on the road to recovery. The brave butterfly, it doesn't necessarily need to be bullying, but a brave butterfly is the ones who recognize their shortcomings and how their actions are affecting themselves and others, and they want to do something about it. Even if they don't have the answer, even not on the road to recovery, if they at least know, I can't do this anymore, and you really want to do something about it, congratulations. And you may have to wait till the coronavirus thaws, but help is definitely on the way. So you're not alone. As always, take what you like, leave the rest, and I'll talk to you next time.